So let us start once again. We have finished, first of all, the two oxo acids which are named as HNO2, nitrous acid. Another oxo acid is known as a nitric acid, regarded as a HNO3. We have seen the preparation and the properties and the uses of these oxo acids. Then we have studied the hydrides of nitrogen, where just now we have finished ammonia, that is known as the azane or nitrogen hydride, where we have studied one part of nitrogen intimately mixed with three parts of hydrogen so as to form this ammonia, where the temperature and the pressure conditions are temperature 500 to 550 degrees centigrade, pressure of about 200 atmospheres, and ferric oxide Fe2O3 as a catalyst with few traces of molybdenum as a promoter, which acts at the interface of the surface of the reactant molecules and the surface of the catalyst itself. So it avoids the poisoning of catalyst and the reaction carried out till almost all the reactants are converted into the products. We have seen that besides the use of this ammonia as a reagent or as a chemical having a very sharp and penetrating odor, it can be used as a precursor or a starting material so as to synthesize so many fertilizers. Also, it can be used in the manufacture of certain fibers, that is a nylon fiber or the rayon fibers, which are used in manufacture of the clothes. Also, it can be used as a bleaching agent in various cases. Now, this is all about the oxo acids and the hydrides of nitrogen. One more hydride of nitrogen is there, that is known as a hydrazine, having the formulas as N2H4. So, two nitrogen atoms along with four hydrogen atoms is known as a hydrazine. So, this hydrazine is also equally important, particularly in organic chemistry, because so many reactions those are possible only because of this hydrazine, and this hydrazine plays a very important role in the research of organic chemistry. Again, we are going to study this hydrazine with the help of three important aspects. First of all, we shall study how hydrogen can be synthesized on laboratory scale. Secondly, the properties and the uses, and in the third part that we are going to study the health hazards and the structure. So in these three aspects, we are going to study this hydrazine. Let us see how hydrazine can be manufactured and how it is hazardous to health and the structure for this hydrazine. Just look at this structure and all other relevant properties. Now the hydrazine of nitrogen, that is known as hydrazine, having the formula as N2H4, which is known as a hydrazine. This hydrazine can be prepared by using very important reaction that is known as a Rashi reaction, or it can be used, the word is a, it can be used, it can be synthesized by using Rashi process. So Rashi process is the only process by which this hydrazine can be synthesized. How it can be prepared by using this Rashi process? Just see here. NaOCl plus twice NH3, which gives this NH2. There is a bonding between nitrogen atom, NH2, and sodium chloride and water molecules. So this NaOCl that can be used as a, disinfectant, which is known as the sodium hypochlorite. It is not chloride, but it is a chloride. A 5% solution that can be used during these days, that is during this pandemic situation, so as to kill the coronavirus. So a 5% solution that can be used, and if it is spread in your home or near your home or near your area, that can avoid the much more the coronavirus infection. So it is used as a very good disinfectant nowadays in this pandemic situation. So a 5% solution that is prepared, or it can be sprayed by using a spraying machine that can be used in by the farmers in farming or fumigation. Now, what are the properties of this hydrogen? Hydrogen is a very reactive base. Is a very reactive base because NH2 group is there, and hence it is known as a reactive base. While it's aqueous, it is reactive base, and it is acts as a reducing agent also, because so many reactions, organic chemistry reactions, those are possible only because of this hydrogen, which acts as a reducing agent, and it is widely used in organic synthesis. So whenever synthesis of any organic material that is carried out, the hydrogen plays a very important role. Secondly, it is when the aqueous solution is prepared, or when it is dissolved in aqueous solution, it becomes alkaline. Thirdly, it reacts violently with oxidants, acids, and metals, producing a greater explosion hazard. So explosion may take place if this is wrongly used. So care should be taken when the reaction of hydrogen with any of the metal, acid, or base, when it is reacts with either of these, then it can explode very easily. It when this hydrogen is heated, what will happen if it is heated? When it is heated, it undergoes decomposition. Hydrogen undergoes decomposition, and it emits certain toxic fumes which are very much injurious to health, which causes some fire hazard also. Now, what are the uses of this hydrogen? Hydrogen can be used for so many industries. It is required by so many industries. That means industrial applications are carried out by using this hydrogen, including the polymers. That means polymer industries require this hydrogen. Then the polymerization catalysis, those also uses this hydrogen. Several important pharmaceutical industries are also require these hydrogens for their synthesis and other derivatives which may be obtained. Hydrogen is also used in various rocket fuels. So it can be used as a rocket fuel, as it explodes very easily, and this particular property is used in sending the rocket in the atmosphere. It can also be used in various power plants, in organic synthesis, and in fuel cells as a safer alternative to hydrogen, because hydrogen, in the use of hydrogen, sometimes it causes certain health hazards. So in spite of this hydrogen, sometimes hydrogen is used, and this hydrogen can provide the required hydrogen in a particular reaction. Now, what are the health hazards? Now, if we look at the health hazards, then hydrogen is highly toxic, as we know. It is very much toxic, injurious to health. And when this hydrogen is exposed at a very high temperature, it can cause the irritation of eyes, because the vapors, when they transmit to our eyes, then irritation of eyes also takes place. In addition to which, if we inhale the fumes of hydrogen, or the nose or the throat also severely get damaged. It also affects human liver, the kidneys, those also severely damaged. And very important effect of this hydrogen is on central nervous system. So central nervous system is also adversely affected. So hydrogen solutions are corrosive and cause again skin burns. So the handling should be very careful of this hydrogen. Now, what is the structure for this hydrogen? Now, while drawing the structure, there is a bonding between two nitrogen atoms that I have already shown here. So two nitrogen atoms are there, surrounded by four hydrogen atoms like this. These are the four hydrogen atoms. This is known as a NH2. One NH2 unit, another NH2 unit is there. So here the formula for hydrogen is, as we know, it is NH2 NH2, or it can also be written as N2H4, both meaning the same. Now the molar mass is 32.4. So if we take, for instance, the atomic masses of nitrogen with hydrogen, then it comes to be, the total comes to be 32.4 gram mole. The chemical structure which is shown here consists of two NH2 groups. So this is one NH2 group and another NH2 group, which are covalently bonded through the nitrogen linkages, or an NH2 bond. This is an NH2 bond. This is one NH2, and this is also another NH2 linkage. So this is how it can form the structure as N2H4. It is having a pyramidal type of structure. It is having a pyramidal type of shape or structure. Each NH2N molecule is a subunit, and it shows a pyramidal type of structure, while the nitrogen, this bond length is 145 picometers or 1.45 angstrom units, while the HNH, this bond angle, it is found to be 110 degrees. The structure can be accounted by assuming the sp3 hybridization. So here nitrogen again undergoes sp3 hybridization for each nitrogen atom. So the nitrogen atom links with these hydrogen atoms, and as these hydrogen atoms, four hydrogen atoms, which are present on two extreme sides, and hence these are known as a terminal hydrogen atoms. These are known as terminal hydrogen atoms. So this is how they can form this pyramidal structure. Here it is also regarded as the unsymmetrical molecule. It is also regarded as an unsymmetrical molecule. So this much study that is expected from this hydrazine, which is again the hydride of nitrogen. So all this that completes our topic, that is known as the study of p block elements, where we have studied the general characteristics of p block elements, in addition to which we have studied the general electronic configuration of group number 13, 14, 15, borazine, diborane, then allotropic forms of carbon, allotropic forms of phosphorus. Then we have studied today the oxoacids and the hydrides of nitrogen also. Now this will complete our topic, that is known as the p block element. Again, a very simple topic that we are going to deal is known as the topic known as the chelation. This topic is known as a chelation, a very simple and small topic that I am going to deal just now. Now here, this chelation topic, first of all, the word is very confusing, because this word that is brought from the Greek word, so for which the credit that goes to the scientists Morgan and Drew. They have shown that the Greek word chelos means it is a crab's claw. I think you might be knowing the crab. When you put your hand with crab, how the crab holds tightly our finger. In the similar manner, these certain chemical reagents, those chemical reagents, those are having certain claws just like a crab, and that claws they can hold the metal atom very tightly, and hence the word is used is a chelation. So whole credit that goes to the scientists Morgan and Drew. They have derived the word from chelos to chelation, and it is a process of formation of this chelation with metal. Now there are certain important terms, those we have to study. Those I have mentioned so many times. First term is known as a ligands. Ligand is nothing but it is again a electron rich species, as good as it is a bank of electrons where plenty of electrons are there. So every ligand is having the electrons. So it is known as a electron rich species which is coordinated to metal directly. These are known as a ligands. For example, NH3 neutral ligand, H2O neutral ligand, or negative ligands such as chloride, cyanide, hydroxyl. These are also known as electrons. They can donate their pairs of electron during the formation of bond. All such species are known as the ligands. So the ligands which can coordinate to the central metal atom through more than one point of attachment, then those are known as the chelating type of ligands. These are known as a chelating type of ligands. For example, dimethylglyoxime, EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. These are the best known examples of chelating type of ligands. So EDTA or dimethylglyoxime, these can be used as a chelating type of ligands. So what is a chelating type of agent? Again, another definition. Chelating agent. What is a chelating agent? The substance containing two or more donor groups or donor atoms is known as the chelating agent. For example, in case of dimethylglyoxime, NOH group is a donor group, or EDTA here ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, here both oxygen and nitrogen acts as a donor group. So more than two donor groups if are present, I am going to show you the structure for this, but before which you should remember that these are the agents having more than two donor groups or donor atoms are known as a chelating type of reagents, which are also known as a complex forming reagents or complexing agents. Then the third terminology is known as a chelation. Now, chelation is nothing but it is a process of the formation of a heterocyclic ring. What is this heterocyclic ring? That also I will show you by drawing the structure. You need not worry about this heterocyclic ring structure containing the metal atom which is at the center, that is known as a chelation. So chelation is nothing but it is a process of formation of heterocyclic ring between the chelating agent and the metal is known as a chelation. For example, if we want to show, then we are having a metal ion solution through which a chelating type of reagent when it is added, or complex forming reagent when it is added, then it can form a metal chelate. So this is obtained after the process of chelation. For example, consider a metal ion such as nickel, chelating agents such as dimethylglyoxime. On chelation or process of chelation, this nickel dimethylglyoxime complex that is produced, where the nickel atom is trapped at the center like this, and here other CH2 and OH groups are there. So this is how the heterocyclic ring that is produced between the metal atom and the surrounding ligands, that is known as a formation of a chelation. So we have studied all these relevant terms, that is the ligand, the chelating agent, and the process of chelation. Now, if we want to have an effective chelation process or effective complex formation, then there are certain requirements for, that is a structural requirements for chelation. So many times a long question may be asked on what are the structural requirements, or discuss the structural requirements of chelation. Now, in chelation, what are the structural requirements, or the what are the basic conditions for the chelation? There are certain structural requirements. First structural requirement that is known as the heterocyclic ring. This is very important. In every chelation process, a heterocyclic ring must be formed between a metal and the chelating agent. This is a basic requirement. I will show you this heterocyclic ring in due course of time. The second structural requirement is that the size and charge on the metal ion. Now, if the metal atom, if it is a small in size and it is having the high charge, then it can form, it can favor a better chelate formation. So size also matters. Then the third, it is known as the type of bonding, which is very important. What should be the type of bonding during the formation of a chelation? The type of bonding may be sometimes covalent. That means both the atoms, they share commonly a pair of electron, or it is a coordinate type. That means one atom donates the pair of electron. Here, coordinate type means both the atom, they donate their pairs of electron, or it is a combination of both. That means the covalent and coordinate, both types of bond may be observed in the formation of a chelate. The fourth point is that the donor groups. Now, how many donor groups should be there? That the chelating agent should have more than 2 donor groups. Then and then an effective chelation process takes place. For example, the donor groups which contains the nitrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. For example, in case of EDTA, or in case of this DMG, this nitrogen hydrogen groups are present, which act as a donor groups. They can donate their pairs of electron during the formation of a chelate. One more point is that a requirement is a 5-membered ring. This is very important, that sometimes a MCQ based question may be asked. Structural requirement is having dash membered ring. That means a 5-membered ring, that is essential. This ring is known as the strain-free ring. Why this strain-free ring? Because this metal ion which contained in this ring having the bond angle 108 degrees, that corresponds to closely 109 degrees 5 minutes. That is a tetrahedral bond angle, that is sp3 hybridization. So whenever such sp3 hybridization is there, this is very close to 109 degrees, so the ring becomes strain free. And one more requirement, that the metal chelates should have very high stability. What is this? That is, if an unstable metal chelate is formed, it again starts to decompose. So the metal ion must be having a greater coordination number, so that it can be surrounded by maximum number of ligands surrounding this metal atom. So this structural requirements for a chelate formation is that first is a heterocyclic ring must be there. Secondly, the size and charge on the metal atom. Third is a type of bonding. Fourth is a donor group. Fifth is a 5-membered ring, and sixth is a metal chelates should have high stability. In order to have high stability, the central place metal atom should have the maximum coordination number, so that it can attract maximum number of surrounding ligands. Now, a question that is asked every year, that is, how can we distinguish between a metal complex and the metal chelate. So I'm going to give you a very brief account of the introduction or the points of distinction between this metal chelate and metal complex. It is very easy to understand. So if you look at this tabular form, then it is very easily understandable. That is a metal chelate, and here metal complex. So many times this question has been asked, distinguish between metal chelate and metal complex. Now we have seen what is the basic requirement of metal chelate. That metal chelate requires a heterocyclic ring that is required. First point of difference between metal complex, here non-cyclic ring is there. I will show you what is a non-cyclic ring. That is, first is a heterocyclic ring is there in metal chelate, but in metal complex non-cyclic ring is there. The second point of difference is that here the metal combines with the organic reagent, that is a chelating type of reagent, so as to form, which are having two or more donor groups. But in case of metal complex, here the metal atom easily combines with a reagent having electron pairs. I will show you how this happens. The third point is that the bonding, just now I have seen that the bonding in metal chelate may be a covalent type, it may be a coordinate type, or it may be a combination of both. The third point under metal complex is that here we can observe only a coordinate type of bonding. This is a main point of difference between these two. Then fourth point of differentiation, that when we try to dissolve these metal chelates, then the solubility is very less, or the solubility is negligible. That means, say for example, nickel dimethyl glycine complex is there. If when we add water, then it is not soluble, or it is soluble up to certain extent. Negligible solubility is there. But metal complexes, they are soluble up to certain extent. That means they are soluble up to certain extent. Now, the fifth under metal chelate is that they may or may not having a regular shape. Metal chelates may be having or may not having a regular shape, but metal complexes, they have a regular shape. For example, a octahedral shape may be exhibited, or a tetrahedral shape may be observed, or a square planar shape may be observed. So metal complexes have a regular shape. The sixth point of difference is that these metal chelates, they may or may not be represented in a square bracket. That means these metal chelates sometimes they may be represented in a square bracket like this, or they may not be shown in a square bracket. But metal complexes, if it is a metal complex, they must be shown in a square bracket, otherwise the meaning may go wrong. So this is compulsorily represented in a square bracket. For example, if we want to write potassium ferrocyanide, it should be written as K4 FeCl6. So this is the usual method as per the rules. Now the seventh point is that here, for example, how metal chelate is formed. This metal chelate formation takes place, that can be shown. For example, if we take for instance copper, with which two molecules of ethylene diamine, En stands for ethylene diamine, when it is added, then this copper atom is trapped at the center, and this is ethylene diamine. CH2 and H2 means ethylene diamine. This is again NH2. This is NH2. This is CH2. This is CH2 2 plus. So here this is a formation of a heterocyclic ring. So this is a heterocyclic ring where number of different atoms are present. This is known as a heterocyclic ring. So this is known as a metal atom is present at the center, which is surrounded by donor groups or organic reagents. Hence it is known as a metal chelate. But in this case, how metal complexes form? For example, take for instance again the same example of copper plus 2, here copper plus 2, plus when ammonia solution is added, then a metal complex that is formed like this. These are the 4 ammonia molecules which are surrounded by this copper like this. This is a tetraamine copper sulfate, tetraamine copper plus 2 ion, and you have conducted this preparation also in the laboratory while carrying out the practicals. So this is known as the metal complex. Complexation takes place between the copper and the 4 ammonia molecules. This is a metal which is present and the complex that is formed with ammonia molecule. But this is a metal chelate, that is a complex forming reagent. So here all these points, those are known as the points of distinction between metal chelate and metal complex. So in case of metal chelate, heterocyclic ring is there. Here non-cyclic ring is there. In case of metal chelate, metal combines with organic reagents to form two or more donor groups. But here metal combines with the reagent having electron pairs. So here this ammonia molecule are having electron pair, that is a 2s electron that already I have shown earlier in the structure. Then bonding may be covalent, coordinate, or it will be combination of both. Here only coordinate type of bond is there. That means here the 2 electrons which are present, those are entirely donated by this ammonia molecule to the central place copper. Then here, if we try to dissolve metal chelate in water, then solubility is very, very less. But here, these metal complexes are soluble up to certain extent. Then these metal complexes, metal chelates may be having regular shape, may or may not having a regular shape, but metal complexes should have a regular shape. Then these are represented in a square bracket, or sometimes they may not be represented in a square bracket, but here metal complexes should be compulsorily represented in a square bracket. Then this is a formation of metal chelate between copper and ethylene diamine, formation of a metal complex between copper and the ligands. So this is how we have seen that